How about now? Oh, there we go. It's your boy. And today, we're going to be talking about the. What the fuck did I just close? Whatever, it's probably something I didn't care about. We're going to be talking about IGN, which, again, yet again, nobody cares about. Everyone universally agrees that IGN is shit. Surprisingly, they're still around. But I'm scrolling through Twitter and I see Cinnamon Toast Ken talking about an IGN article about Baldur's Gate 3, and I didn't know he was into the whole, what would we call this? Like, entertainment, culture, war. It says while Baldur's Gate 3 is being wildly celebrated by fans and developers alike, some are panicking that this could turn that off. That this could set a new expectation from fans, and I don't really care that it took a smaller developer team 6 years to make this game. It's good. I'd rather wait. So yeah. Actually, let's click on. Actually, I think I have it open up here. About ING. Again, no one cares about it. I came to this video. I only watched the first minute of this shit. And let's get started.
Baldur's Gate 3 is taking the internet by storm. At its peak, a whopping 800,000 plus concurrent players were playing this weekend, catapulting it to the number 8 most played of all time spot. The gaming community.
I mean, again, I don't much care for Baldur's Gate 3. There's a lot of concessions I have about it. Mostly customization. I heard the story was good, and there's also things that they put in the game that I don't really understand why. And there's things that they should have put in the game that they didn't. That yet again made me be like, but why? But no, we're not.
Community has sung its praises, and it's incredibly refreshing to play a feature-complete game of this caliber on day one. But AAA game developers want you to know that this is rockstar level nonsense for scope, that it's foolhardy to set expectations higher, and Baldur's Gate 3 should not be used as a raised standard to RPGs going forward.
Why not? I mean, it's popular. Why shouldn't it set the standards? Because here's what people don't what game companies don't understand is that's how consumers gauge what they want to buy as opposed to what they do not want to buy. It's the standard. I mean, why buy if you have one product that has a standard that's already set? Maybe you can make some concessions here or there, but why would you buy a game with that costs the same amount of money, by the way, for that is less than the standard, and that just doesn't make any sense. Like, why would you buy a worse product for the same price as a game that's a better product, or even more? Because again, but I guess I could use the whole back in the day argument. Like, back then there were zero standards for video games, and straight fucking bangers have been released. Like back in the Xbox 360, Xbox original, excuse me. Straight fucking because they were made by gamers, for gamers. They were made by people in their mom's goddamn basement. So there were zero standards. In fact, if you played games, you were fucking childish. So there were negative standards for gaming back then. And still straight fucking bangers were released. So I don't understand nowadays where companies are a hell of a lot bigger, have a hell of a lot more money to spend, have a hell of a lot more time, just incapable of creating a good product, of a good game. That's just not something I completely understand. And now they're trying to defend this laziness. I mean, that's really the only thing I can say about it. It's just straight laziness.
Why was the first response to defend the current state of AAA gaming as opposed to saying, hey, maybe we can learn a thing or two from Baldur's Gate 3 and make our game better for our customers? This all
I already explained it. It's because how consumers or how gamers think. I used consumer a lot. That's what they think you are. They think you're the consumer, but what you actually are is a gamer. I mean,
Kicked off way back on July 8th, a lifetime ago by internet standards, I know, when a writer and BAFTA nominee, Xavier Nelson, took to Twitter to express concerns about Baldur's Gate 3, namely that fans would use Baldur's Gate 3 to apply criticism or a raised standard to RPGs going forward. My rebuttal is, why shouldn't customers have raised standards? Taking it a step
I mean, so you agree? Like, again, in a time where it is so easy to create a video game nowadays. You don't even need a skill. All you need to do is hire people, and they'll create the game for you. You know, have expectations, have standards, have what you want. Just take to Twitter and be like, I want to create this type of game. You know, put out a Kickstarter. Like, it is so much easier to create a game, just an indie game nowadays, than it ever has been before. But for some reason, people want to have the argument that games should, one, cost more, which is ridiculous, two, have so much predatory microtransactions and gotcha mechanics, or surprise mechanics is what they used to call it. And that's just not something that needs to be added, but they have to add this because they want to take every dollar from you they possibly can. And we've seen this with games like Assassin's Creed. It objectively makes the game worse because they objectively scale the game down to goad you into buying this shit. I don't want to stop every 5 fucking seconds, but this really pisses me off that they just don't understand this.
step further, why shouldn't some AAA developers raise their own standards? Are we really going to pretend that consumers shouldn't be a little upset right now and hoping for an improvement in the industry going forward? Rockstar just announced a $50 remake, conversion.
I mean, now that really fucking I've never played Red Dead Redemption. I understand it's good. But a remake, which is it's not even a remake. It's just they converted it to not PS. They converted it to Nintendo Switch for $50. It's not a $50 fucking game. Like, the game been out for like, what, 13 years? It's not a $50 fucking game. Like, I hate to splash the cold water over you. It is not worth no $50.
Of the original Red Dead Redemption for the PlayStation 4 and Switch that has no mention of a 4K update, no mention of 60 FPS, and no mention of multiplayer support. The game came out 13 years ago, and the Xbox port does everything they're offering, and then some for free with your 360 copy.
Again, so they're releasing a $50 game that has less than the original for $29. And it's literally the exact same. It has less than the original game, which apparently has become the standard. Like, if people are willing to buy this, they're willing to do it. Now, I'm not shitting on the consumer. I'm not saying, oh, well, if you buy this, you're the problem. We should be shitting on the companies for allowing this to happen. Like, they've opened the door to, oh, hey, we can just sell a remake of the same fucking game for more. And it's like, no.
Go buy a brand new copy of the Game of the Year edition on Amazon right now for $30 and you're good to go. Star Wars Jedi Survivor, when released on PC, had furious fans citing numerous problems getting the game to run, frequent crashes, and similar problems on the PlayStation 5 and Xbox.
Yeah, because again, it was a shittier product. It had so many, like, we're not even getting into the story. To my knowledge, the story's fine. We're getting into games releasing buggy, broken, damn near unplayable on launch, and them just fixing it later, but still demanding $70 up front. I mean, we've gotten to this point, we've gotten to this standard, and again, if you point this out, you're yelled at for daring to even bring it up. So the problem exists, you're just not allowed to talk about it. It's like the people will come out the woodworks and be like, oh, well, they'll fix it later. And it's like, I paid $70 fucking for this game. Give me a working product. Like, I bought the game, I played it, found out it had de novo DRM, found out that objectively made the game worse, and I got a refund and got my money back. Like, I swear to God, Steam's gonna come after me for all these refunds. I did the same thing with that Gollum game, and I wasn't expecting Gollum to be the best, but it was even worse than what I was expecting, which wasn't even that much to begin with.
EA apologized and is still working to fix the issues.
Okay, no, I am going to pause every 5 seconds. I'm pretty sure they had this made before the game even fucking released. The same thing with the Gollum game. I am pretty sure they've had these made just beforehand, before the game is even released. So, because they know that there's problems with the fucking game, it's just the culture of, oh, we can fix it later. It's the we can fix it later mentality. And bugs aren't that much of an issue. It's just, if the game is unplayable, which so Jedi Survivor was just flat out unplayable for me because the performance was shit.
Destiny 2 just released the State of the Game blog saying, amongst other things, that they don't have the resources to release new ritual armor every season. But that same studio manages to create new armor sets in the shop for up to $20 a pop without fail every season. Yep.
Exactly, because that is the standard nowadays. We've allowed this to happen. I mean, people were buying the product, which again, I'm not going to say it's a bad thing, but if you point out the problems, you are criticized. You, the person that handed them the money, you, the person that put food on their fucking table, is criticized. You are supposed to just allow this to happen and just buy the game and wait for 50 fucking years for them to decide to actually fix the game. You are. And then microtransactions, of course, because people buy it, and if people are willing to buy it, they're going to have it.
Diablo 4 unabashedly has several character skins priced at $20 each, and just released their first season that had a patch that was so poorly thought out that the developers had to have an emergency live stream to apologize, and have since begun working to revert those changes.
And I'm so sick and tired of apologies. I fucking hate apologies. You are a company. Your job is to create a working product. Don't apologize. Just take the L's and make it better. But they believe they do not need to do that. They can just put out a shitty product and apologize, and again, people will just defend them just off the bat.
We don't plan on doing a patch like this ever again.
Okay, you need a more comparable RPG example of why fans are heralding Baldur's Gate 3 as a breath of fresh air? Look no further than Mass Effect Andromeda, which was widely panned.
Sorry.
This game just should not have existed. I'm sorry. I'm gonna say it. This game just flat out should not have existed.
My face is tired from dealing with everything.
Or Cyberpunk 2077 that made promises about last-gen game consoles that it couldn't keep.
Yeah, I mean, this game wasn't bad. It was buggy, but again, the problem was the promises. If it wouldn't have made all them promises, and if it wouldn't have spent so much on, what's the word I'm looking for? On advertisement, it spent like millions of dollars on publishing and advertisement, money they should have been spending on just making the game work to begin with.
It took CDPR almost a year to get that all sorted out.
And the fact that it only took them a year boggles my mind. Some companies never fix these things. Some games are just objectively shit and maintain the problems for like 5 or 6 years.
I'll make this as clear as possible to contextualize how fans are feeling. It feels like money has become more important than the core experience for fans.
I mean, it's money, it's protecting the IPs, it's putting out a product to compete. I mean, there's more things than just money. I mean, to my knowledge, you lose money if you just put out shittier products over and over, and you'll probably lose the studio that made the game.
That's why Elden Ring, Baldur's Gate 3, and even The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom are being widely celebrated. So what is up with the excuses? A game came along that is amazing, is selling well, is being praised by developers and fans alike, and the response is, well, we can't do that. Well, sweet. If that doesn't get me hyped for Mass Effect 4, I don't know what will.
Mass Effect 4 probably just shouldn't exist either. Like, Mass Effect is dead, it's gone. There's absolutely nothing more they can do with the story. People have said the ending of 3 was bad. The whole damn game had inconsistencies from my standpoint, but again, I was willing to let them slide if the game was actually good, but it wasn't, and it's because of the ending.
Xavier's tweet was well-intentioned, and he went on to add a lot of important context, but I think it misses the perspective of the consumer. We don't know anything about game design or how hard it is. We just know that Destiny is deleting hundreds.
I mean, we don't know, but, I mean, we're just looking at how games were made in the past, with less resources, less people, and they were good games. I mean, again, there was no expectations, there was no bar. But straight bang, that game, not only just good games, period, games that had different mechanics, like Fear 1, Half-Life, Sacrifice, Halo, I can go all day, Mass Effect, I mean, Baldur's Gate 1, I mean, games were just coming out with new mechanics, just in better stories, and that they actually worked. The games actually worked. Fallout New Vegas is a fucking masterpiece. It is better than all the other Fallout games. Maybe 1 is kind of on its level for me. But Fallout New Vegas was just a better game. And that game was damn near unplayable for me. But I still played the shit out of it. Because it was a good game.
Hundreds of dollars worth of expansions when they feel like it, that Diablo is constantly reminding us to buy skins in their store, and most PC ports have been abysmal lately. Remember, that tweet was made nearly a month before Baldur's Gate 3 blew up, and it was still contentious with fans speaking up about their frustrations and developers chiming in to say what felt like game development is hard, you don't get it, be quiet.
Again, if a company starts coming out with you with, oh, this is hard, it's like, okay, well, I guess you don't want my money. But the problem is they demand your fucking money. And if you do, and if you don't give it to them, you're a bad person. Oh, but development is hard, so you shouldn't expect a good product. It's like, why? I mean, there are other games. Other games exist. Your company's not made by the grace of God to do this. And if you can't afford to do the thing you're on this planet to do, your company exists to do, maybe you just shouldn't exist. Maybe you should step the fuck down, release your IPs to people who actually know how to make money off of it. But they can't do this. It's just like, look at my hands. We just cannot let go of this. We gotta keep milking the goddamn cow. And it's like, okay, you can do that. Don't be surprised when the consumers are like, no, fuck you. You can do better. We know you can. You've done better in the past. Just fuck off.
Baldur's Gate 3 is a game from a large, passionate studio that refuses to add microtransactions, gave players early access so they could address any problems that arose before launch, and is taking Steam charts by storm. So why should...
Again, I'll talk about my concessions of Baldur's Gate 3 later. But yeah, I mean, the fact that it is a selling point to be like, no microtransactions. And they did release the beta. I mean, that right, the fact that that's the new thing, that's a new and powerful thing, is shocking to me.
Fans not use that as a gold standard of how to do it right? And why would a AAA studio not look at it and say, hey, maybe cramming microtransactions into our game isn't a good look?
Honestly, I thought I'd be disagreeing with IGN. It's still a shit publication, but honestly, I thought I'd be disagreeing with this guy. But I mean, he's doing more fence sitting than most, but I guess this is fine.
When Mass Effect 4 comes out, I don't want to see a $20 Liara skin, and I hope that its performance is tested across all platforms.
I don't want to see Mass Effect 4 at all. I'm going to be quitting every 5 seconds, so get over it. I don't want to see Mass Effect 4 at all. Like, the story has been told. I mean, this is the problem with most IPs. The story has already been told. The story's done. Why can't you make something new?
before release? Am I in the wrong for not wanting microtransactions and a stable video game at launch? Credit
According to people on Twitter, you are.
where credit's due now. There have been some really good examples of AAA games like the Dead Space remake and the Resident Evil 4 remake come to mind, both of which have been massive successes for EA and Capcom.
I mean, they have, but they're still remakes, which, in my opinion, I don't think needs to exist.
Vampire
Like, if you make a remake of a game, like you already have the base of the game, it should cost less for that game. But no, they're like, oh, it's damn near the price of a new game for a remake.
Survivors came along and took the internet by storm last year. Do I need to bring up Elden Ring again? But that tweet blew up in the development sphere, and frankly, the pushback is just ridiculous. Developers should be looking at what Baldur's Gate 3 did and trying to replicate where they can, not jumping up to defend games that are cramming in practices that fans are getting fed up with. And make no mistake about it, these decisions impact game design. Many games are utilizing battle passes and player engagement as a metric of success.
And it's not just that, like, the scaling of the game is objectively made to goad you into buying the microtransaction. Like, again, I use Assassin's Creed as an example of this. It's like you literally, and I think it was Odyssey, you literally couldn't even progress until you were at a certain level. But the only way you could feasibly reach this level in a feasible time without spending hundreds of hours was to buy EXP. And that's what people did.
Yes, for a player, that means more grindy missions. That means more reminders to stop in the shop.
Yeah, and again, they make the grind even more repetitive and even more idiotic. I play Warframe. I don't care for the grind if it's rewarding. But if it's not, if the grind is made specifically to goad you into buying microtransactions, that is a fucking problem.
It means a boring grind because keeping players engaged is a key metric. Many of the people who came out to talk about why Baldur's Gate 3 shouldn't be the new standard have since walked back those statements, and I'm glad. Because if the industry can't take a good hard look at what's going wrong, why fans reacted the way they did to Elden Ring and Baldur's Gate 3, and then make impactful changes, we're screwed. Also, people seem to be using the fact that Larian is a big studio against them, the fact that they had a long development cycle against them. Really? Blizzard is also a huge studio with over 8,500 employees across several offices. They credited every employee at Blizzard in the release of Diablo 4. Bungie is a huge studio with over 1,552 employees across several offices. BioWare is a huge studio with over 500 employees across several offices. And Larian is also a large studio with over 400 employees across several offices. All of them have established beloved IPs with a ton of lore to pull from. All of them have a lot of money to make video games. And all of them had a long time to make anything they wanted to make. To say Baldur's Gate 3...
I mean, I have nothing to argue here. I mean, I'm fine with a game taking longer to release, but still being a good game. I mean, I think most people universally is fine with that, because again, there's other games to play. Like, I'm not schizophrenic. Like, I just have to play Baldur's Gate 3 or my life's gonna fucking end. It's like, no, we have other games to play. There's no reason why they cannot wait. Or maybe for, like, shareholders, maybe that's the reason. But if the game's good like Baldur's Gate 3 at the end of all that, I don't see where the issue is. I don't understand why shareholders have become the new demographic, the new consumers that companies need to go with, and not the consumers, not the gamers, the people that actively put food on their table and money in their pocket. That's just not something I truly understand.
Is successful because it's aligned with Dungeons and Dragons is insanity. You think 800,000 Steam players are playing a game called Baldur's Gate 3 because of Dungeons and Dragons? No. It's clearly gone far beyond that audience. I don't know anything about Dungeons and Dragons. I didn't know this game had anything to do with Dungeons and Dragons. And you know why I'm playing it? Because I like good games with a heavy focus on storytelling and bears. But anyway, it was
No, we're not going to get into the whole bear thing. And yeah, I mean, if it's a good story, even people talk about trying to reach the wider audience, right? Which exists, but not the way they think it is. They think they can, if they change a product from what its original intention was, they can. It's like they own the audience that already is about to play the game, and they can reach a whole nother subset of an audience that hasn't played the game, and that's just not how it works. Because if you change the base of the game, people who like the initial game are going to get pissed off and they're going to leave. So this whole wider audience argument just doesn't really work. But again, Baldur's Gate has done something where, okay, they are reaching a wider audience of people who, again, they don't play D&D. They don't really know how to min-max characters in that sense, like in Path of Exile. But they still play it and enjoy it.
Wasn't all doom and gloom from the development side. Thank you, Juno Blees, formerly of Riot, for jumping in and echoing exactly what I'm saying here. Her quote tweet reads, "I can't disagree with this one more. Whenever a game disrupts the industry and delights players beyond expectations, it absolutely raises industry and genre standards regardless of why and how. We should look at the Larian success story and ask ourselves, how are we going to make our games better and create the next games that shake up the industry? Players should and must always expect more from us, never less."
Fucking thank you. Now they're starting to understand what the hell we've been saying since 2016. Well, I mean, this person, I don't know if all of them understand this, but now it's put into words.
Thank you. I implore AAA devs to look at these games that are being celebrated and look at your pipeline to see why.
And not just that, look at older games. Like, it is so easy. The games are already out. They're like, they're done. And just look at them and be like, okay, people like this aspect of this older game, and just build upon that.
The consumer is getting frustrated about the experience I outline in this video. And obviously try and make an improvement, because telling me how hard it is when you're breaking profit and revenue records isn't a super compelling argument from the customer's perspective. Is Baldur's Gate 3 an...
Oh yeah, I remember when Activision was gloating about how they damn near tripled their bottom line, while at the same time laying off about a third of their of their workforce. It's like, what the fuck's going on? I think this was like 2019 when this happened. Yeah, that just surprised the fuck out of me. It's like, okay, so you're gloating, while at the same time laying people off. And now nowadays they're acting like it's difficult. It's like, well, where the fuck did those people that you laid off go? Like, why?
An outlier? Yes, but I for one wish it could become the standard, and being told to shut up because I don't know game design doesn't feel super constructive. But hey, I'm just some idiot on the internet who doesn't know anything about game design. I guess I'll just go buy my horse armor and call it a day. Enjoy your $20 on...
Got him. Oh yeah, the whole Skyrim horse armor thing.
On top of your $100 for the collector's edition, on top of your $15 for the battle pass. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below, because I get why you're frustrated, and it's really frustrating to see people not saying, hey, maybe we could learn a thing or two from Larian.
I think it's about damn time. Like, I don't understand why we are now understanding this at Baldur's Gate 3. I mean, we've been saying this, but before that, no one was, they were just, they were calling us all sorts of labels and all sorts of isms because you expect more from a damn company that has done better in the past, i.e. Blizzard, BioWare. I mean, I don't know if anyone really cared for EA. I mean, I think EA is one of the few companies that people actually legitimately hated, but whatever. It's like, yeah, people set standards for a reason, because, you know, the people who played games in the past are now grown. Now they have kids. Now they have responsibility. And when they're done working their 10-hour shift at their job, they want to sit home and be entertained. But the problem is they can't even do that, because every game is just, most games are just bad. And games from companies that did better in the past, that had talent, that had creativity, or just putting out flops over and over again, and yelling at you, the gamer, the consumer, for pointing it out. So yeah, I think that's the problem. But anyway, I'm a shitty source and shitty person to really be talking about this. I mean, like you said, I'm just some idiot on the internet. But yeah, and that's the end of it. Peace.